If we're talking about stimulus checks, just how much was printed during the health crisis? Now, if we ask the experts, it was roughly $5 trillion, a huge amount of money to print in such a short period of time. The massive outpouring of cash to us had a lot of different effects, some that we still continue to feel up to today. Now, a lot of Americans are still disappointed as well since we never saw the promised $2,000 stimulus check, among many other announced provisions that we were told that we would be getting. But what's happened since then? The flooding of cash did a lot of things. First, it was great, but after some time, it kind of felt like it was doing more harm than good. The start of the health crisis showed extreme volatility in the stock market, especially with many investors unsure of what's actually going to happen next. It got so bad that trading had to be halted. Then came in the first checks hitting our bank accounts, and it pretty much gave new life to the markets, having Wall Street turning 180 degrees. Business owners also took full advantage of the almost $1.7 trillion that was provided for different measures, one of them being the PPP loans, also known as the Paycheck Protection Program, a program that we now know gave millions to fraudsters. Now, it wasn't all bad news, as more than 9 million businesses were able to keep their doors open and employees with jobs. But it wasn't all good news either, as the influx of income created this huge wave of inflation where we saw gas prices hitting $5, $6, $7, $8, and $9 per gallon. You guys remember that, right? Back in June 2022, inflation was at around 9.1%. However, it felt like it was more like at least double at the time. With more money pumped into the system, we saw our expenses grow as well, which made many of us feel as if the stimulus checks that we got really didn't do much for us down the road. Now, it's also speculated that the printing of money further pushed inflation to even more fuel, which is why it's still burning hot to this day. And here's where things get a little bit twisted. There's still money that's left over, money that's still part of this clawback included in the lifting of the debt ceiling. Now, what doesn't make sense is that they're saying it's just at $30 billion. Meanwhile, there's a C19 fund tracker that's saying it's more like $300 billion. $30 billion, it won't do much for us, but $300 billion? Oh, that could give at least $1,000 per person in the form of stimulus checks. But what do you guys think? Are we being told the truth about these funds? And should President Joe Biden go ahead and send out those checks already? Now, for some, it would be a dream come true. Although, we really shouldn't hold our breaths, as, he really hasn't been the best person when it comes to making promises and actually keeping them to the American people. From dreams, let's talk about nightmares. One that's happening right now at the borders, as Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was there recently, and with his own eyes, he saw the disarray and the people that just kept coming through it. What's startling to know is that there's still at least $250 million worth of steel just sitting there, untouched, and is now rusting, as it looks like, the Biden administration just doesn't even have a plan on finishing the border wall that they started by the then President Donald Trump.
It reveals a construction zone frozen in time. Steel border wall bollards are left in stacks, and construction equipment sits on staging grounds. Just weeks before President Biden was inaugurated, the Trump administration pushed ahead to build a 4-mile stretch of new border wall into the Patagonia Mountains. We revisited a number of the border wall construction sites we've reported on in the last year, and this is what we found. Dozens of sites along the border have turned from bustling construction zones to ghost-like scenes.
There will not be another foot of wall constructed on my administration.
Vowing not to build another mile of wall, President Biden stopped construction after taking office. About 200 miles of border wall that was being constructed now sit in limbo, and funding is approved for about another 75 miles. The Biden administration says it's reviewing the construction projects.
RFK has also said that no country can survive if its own borders are unsafe, which begs the question, why didn't the Biden administration finish what the Trump administration started? Is it because of spite? Is it pettiness? Or is it better for the United States to have its borders just completely open? Now, again, this is RFK, a Democrat, and he's questioning the decisions of the president, who's also a Democrat, meaning that they don't see eye to eye, something that's quite rare within the Democratic Party. Man, it would be really interesting just to see these two debate and argue, although we probably won't ever see that, as it's rare for a sitting president to hold debates against long shot candidates. Do any of you think that RFK even has a chance against Biden? Now, speaking of arguments, the White House is completely pissed off about the court ruling that limits how they can control social media sites, saying that it could cause grave harm. The Biden administration is already in the works of appealing this particular decision, but many are asking why. Like, what harm can be done with free speech? In the same context, what's so wrong about free speech, huh? Now, according to the White House, this constant communication between them and these social media sites, it opens up a matter of public concern, together with them working towards protecting the American people from misinformation, much like what happened during the C19 vaccines. convenience. So in short, this is what I'm grasping that they're saying. The government should have the last word on anything and everything when it comes to what we should be doing with our lives, our bodies, and everything else. Does this sound close to what they're trying to tell us? Now, here's something that they might never tell us. Like, who actually owns the cocaine that was found recently in the White House? An ex-Secret Service agent, Bobby McDonald, he's saying that they probably have a fairly good idea as to who may be involved with this issue, and it's not impossible to figure out as the drugs were found in a spot that the public tours don't usually go through. This spot, as per McDonald, was for specialized tours where known people who work in and around the White House bring in guests. Now, if that's the case, do you feel like we're ever going to be filled in on this whole coke mess? Or are we just going to forget this whole thing in about a day or two? Former President Donald Trump was very quick to assess that the drugs belonged to Hunter Biden, something that his own former press secretary Kayleigh Enley refuted by saying that there is no way that this belongs to the first son. Do you agree with her? A firm supporter of former President Donald Trump, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, has just been booted from the House Freedom Caucus after calling fellow Republican Representative Lauren Boebert a little B-word. Republican Representative Andy Harris also said that her support for House Speaker Kevin McCarthy may have also played a role in her being removed from the caucus. But what do you guys think about this infighting between lawmakers? Do you think that it helps with our country's progress, or is it dividing us even more? Now, on the topic of our country's progress, China seems to be retaliating against the United States as they have just restricted the export of 2 key metals of the manufacturing of semiconductors. So by early August, exporters will be expected to seek a license if they want to ship these materials. And since we don't necessarily have the manufacturing capacity right here at home right now, this is obviously going to be a shot against us and Europe. Now, as you guys know, semiconductors are very important pieces for many of the technologies that we have. And while experts are saying that, this is going to have a limited short-term impact, the simple fact of the matter is that they could probably do even more damage if they wanted to just by simply limiting other materials. But what do you guys make of this? Should we expect even more pushback from China given that we're not on friendly terms with them at the moment? Make sure to drop me some comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Besides that, you can also answer some very important questions for me in the comments. So here goes. Are you looking for a way to get back toward financial freedom? Are you trying to lighten your load by focusing on cash flow, reducing debt, paying off credit cards, maybe paying off a car payment, a car loan, even eliminating or paying off your mortgage? How about multiple streams of income? Well, if you answered yes, then maybe you should drop a comment down below. If you're interested in learning more about better cash flow, we can discuss side hustles, creating small businesses, even home-based businesses that could fit your lifestyle. Investments? Hey, there's investment opportunities in the stock market through index funds, ETFs, individual stocks. There's options. Heck, let's not forget about investments in real estate. And of course, there's investments available in gold and silver. If you guys are interested in learning more about these different opportunities, definitely hit me up in the comment section down below. I'd love to make future videos for you guys on these topics, but as always, appreciate you guys. Thanks for the love, and I'm gonna catch you guys on the next one.